One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet who millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Trump, everybody they know, they gonna vote for Donald Trump, that's the way it goes. All over America, all over the USA, they voted for Donald Trump, that's what I'm trying to say. Election is over, everyone can see. Donald Trump is now the president of your country. Election is over, everyone can see. Donald Trump is now the president of your country. I want to make America great again.
Woo!
I want to lower the taxes. I want to bring all American business back from overseas back to the USA, baby.
There we go.
Ooh, yeah. Donald Trump is now president of your country. Election is over. Everybody can see. Donald Trump is now the president of your country. Election is over. Everyone can see. Donald Trump is now the president of your country.
All right, good Wednesday afternoon here before Thanksgiving. I'm checking, first time I've gone through Rumble to basically broadcast out to all of the different channels. I don't like the fact that they got this little logo up in the top of my stream. I'm going to have to take care of that. If the guys at Rumble are watching, yeah, that's got to come off. No, that ain't happening. But in any event, we're here. I'm live. I think everything is working as we speak. Hopefully there's no delay or anything like that. I first want to foremost say happy Thanksgiving to all of you. You guys have been great. Everything that you've done by watching this channel, it means so much to my wife, my daughter, the entire community. Thank you very, very much for everything that you do. So first and foremost, what I want to do, I said first and foremost twice, but I just said it again. Donald Trump has made yet another appointment. So this new appointment that he has, let me go ahead and put this up so you guys can see it. First off the bat, I am very pleased to nominate General Keith Kellogg to serve as Assistant to the President and Special Envoy for Ukraine and Russia. Like that. Keith has led a distinguished military and business career, including serving in highly sensitive national security roles in my first administration. He was right with me from the beginning. So Trump has made another appointment today on Wednesday before Thanksgiving. As everybody's getting out of town, Trump is getting ready, add another person to his cabinet. Well, that's not the breaking news I think I should be talking about in regards to Trump's cabinet. You see, the extremely desperate left is showing their desperation. Check this out.
Breaking news coming into CNN. The Trump transition team says several cabinet nominees and other administration appointees faced violent threats overnight. Let's go back to CNN's Steve Contorno, who has the details. So, Steve, what are you learning?
Yeah, Trump's campaign and transition team, I should say, putting out a statement saying that several members of his cabinet and administration, the people he has named so far, were targeted in a, quote, swatting and also bomb threats. Swatting is, of course, when you call in a false crime in hopes to get a police response to someone's home or a specific location. And at this point, we don't know all the administration officials who were involved, though Elise Stefanik, the congresswoman from New York, who is Trump's pick to be the UN ambassador, put out a statement that said that she and her residence was one of the targeted homes. We have also reached out to the campaign for more details, as well as law enforcement officials, and the FBI now telling us that they are, quote, aware of numerous bomb threats and swatting incidents targeting incoming administration nominees and appointees. And they're working with their law enforcement partners, and they're taking all of these threats seriously. So this is something that has been happening more and more recently with public officials and politicians, where these swatting threats and bomb threats are being called in, and we are learning that this is now targeting the Trump administration, and we are waiting for more details from both the transition team and from law enforcement. Manu?
Yeah, these swatting incidents happening across the country, incredibly dangerous, of course, and sapping resources from law enforcement and putting people's lives at risk as well.
Multiple Trump picks have been targeted by violent bomb threats and swatting. That, according to the Trump transition team. No injuries have been reported. Brian Yennis is live from West Palm Beach, Florida, with the latest on all of this. We're beginning to get a little more information of names being added to this list. What do we know, Brian?
Yeah, that's right, Molly. Well, sources tell Fox News that nearly a dozen of President-elect Trump's new administration picks have been threatened, at least since Tuesday night.
So a dozen of his cabinet members and appointees and nominees have been threatened thus far. And you're telling me the FBI is on the responsive end instead of understanding that these people that he's been nominated, you had to understand that there are some sickos that the Democrats have created who are out there running around with their shaving their heads and doing all kinds of crazy things, and you guys are caught again by surprise. Luckily, nobody was hurt. Many of the people weren't even home when this happened, but nonetheless, it's starting. It's already beginning. This is how these people act. This is how I'm sure Trump knew they were going to act. A lot of these people have probably decided they're going to go stay someplace else at this point, especially during the holidays.
We now know the identities of at least 5 of those appointees and nominees that have received those threats. We begin with Trump's pick for CIA Director John Ratcliffe, then his nominee for Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, Brooke Rollins, his pick for Agriculture Secretary, and his nominee for the Environmental Protection Agency, Lee Zeldin, who says a pipe bomb threat was sent to his family with a pro-Palestinian themed message, and his pick for United Nations Ambassador Elise Stefanik. Stefanik is Trump's nominee, like I said, to be at the UN. Her office says a bomb threat was made against Stefanik and her family. New York State, County, and U.S. Capitol Police responded immediately, and everyone is okay. But in a statement, her office said, quote, "This morning, Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, her husband, and their 3-year-old son were driving home home to Saratoga County from Washington for Thanksgiving when they were informed of a bomb threat to their residence. The Trump transition team says that there were nearly a dozen people that were targeted beginning on Tuesday night with, quote, violent, un-American threats to their lives and those who live with them. The threats range from bomb threats to swatting, which is making prank calls to send a heavy police presence to someone's home. Now, according to the Trump team, local law enforcement responded to the threats and visited the homes of the nominees and appointees that were affected. Now, meantime, last night, President-elect Trump announced 6 new picks for his administration. Headlining those picks, Kevin Hassett, director of the White House National Economic Council, Jameson Greer as U.S. Trade Representative, and Dr. Jay Bhattacharya as director of the National Institutes of Health. It should be noted, Molly, that the FBI has released a statement saying that they are aware of these bomb threats and swatting incidents and that they are working with local law enforcement.
Emily, this is a potential national security problem, so we have reached out to the National Security Council at the White House to find out what they are tracking. We will bring you their answer once we have one. We have also been in touch with some officials down with the transition team at Mar-a-Lago. They are not willing to go any further at this time than this statement. We made a graphic so you can follow along. Last night and this morning, several of President Trump's cabinet nominees and administration appointees were targeted in violent, un-American threats to their lives and those who live with them. These attacks ranged from bomb threats to swatting. In response, law enforcement and other authorities acted quickly to ensure the safety of those who were targeted. President Trump and the entire transition team are grateful for their swift action.
Now, understand, if you guys, yesterday when we talked, Trump signed the agreement yesterday that allows for the transition to begin. And part of that agreement that they had for this transition is they're not using government offices, they're not using government technology, nothing to do with their computer systems, nothing touching government does the Trump team even want associated with the transition. And then the very next day, after he signs that agreement, all this stuff breaks loose and they try to do whatever they were trying to do. If you're not familiar with the term swatting and what it is, somebody will call the police wherever you live and say, hey, listen, there's a guy with a shotgun and he's got the shotgun to somebody's head and it's at 123 Smith Street. So of course, at that point, the police are going to dispatch, tell them that there's something really bad going on at this property. They're going to come up to the door expecting that somebody with a armed weapon is going to be in the house doing something. They have to act as though they're protecting themselves as well as trying to find out who in the house is, one, the perpetrator, and two, who inside the house may be a victim. So it's a hugely escalated situation. If you could imagine, you get that kind of phone call and you're like, okay, let's go. Let's gear up. We need to get there. Swatting is called because sometimes they will have to call out the SWAT team. So they do all this hoping that the person inside the house might be surprised, might react a certain way, jump, move a certain way, and then the police end up opening fire. It's been happening over and over and over to many different conservative hosts and things of that nature. One guy who's seen a lot of them is Tim Pool. Tim Pool said that basically these are all assassination attempts. They're not made to be funny. It's not a prank. Like the guy from CNN said, it's not a prank. The intent is to try and see if they can somehow manufacture, stimulate, drive something crazy so that the situation escalates to the point where, something bad really happens. Breaking. Spokeswoman for Caroline Leavitt says last night and this morning, several of President Trump's cabinet nominees and administration appointees were targeted in violent, un-American threats to their lives and those who live with them. Tim Pool, I can't even tell. I lost count how many times it's happened at his residence or wherever it is that he ends up filming his show. I couldn't imagine. I could not imagine if I'm in here and I'm doing a show and I'm talking to you, and then all of a sudden I see sirens and everything pulling up outside, kicking the front door, knocking on it, screaming at Robin, get on the floor, get on the floor. And I'm just going to have to say in here, I'm just like, hey, sorry, it wasn't me. Don't know what happened. Crazy, absolutely crazy. Now, as I mentioned to you earlier, I am live streaming on Rumble, YouTube, and X. I want to apologize for X viewers. We're getting the kinks worked out here. I understand that people on X are not able to basically at this point respond. They can't comment unless you pay for X. So that's something. We'll get it worked out. And then in addition to that, my first time I've ever done this is I'm going to do a commercial here, and I'm going to ask you to bear with me as I have to click a button here, and then as I click this button, it's going to tell me what to actually say, and you can see the link right there. So, first time on Rumble. With President Trump's historic victory, I need to ask parents, please listen up. Now that President Trump is heading back to the White House, he said he wants to teach our kids to love our country. And the best place for them to start is to learn all about President Trump and his vision for America in his second term. That's why Mike Huckabee and his team have put together the Kids Guide to President Trump. And to celebrate President Trump's victory, they're giving it away for free. With fun illustrations and easy-to-follow content, this important guide teaches kids all about President Trump's accomplishments during his first term, and it helps kids understand his goals for the second term. This time of year might be a great Christmas gift. Mike Huckabee wants to send your family this free guide so you can teach your kids the truth. But please hurry, because supplies are obviously limited. To claim your free Kids Guide to President Trump right now, just visit kidstrumpguide.com. That's kidstrumpguide.com. That went pretty well, and I think I thank you guys for bearing with me on that. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Now we're going to go back to what we were talking about with this swatting stuff.
Just as we were coming to air, we learned who at least one of these Trump appointees, or rather Trump nominees, who received one of these threats last night. It was Elise Stefanik, who President Trump wants confirmed by the Senate to be the ambassador to the United Nations. She says, in part, in a statement, this morning, her office says, this morning, Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, her husband, and their 3-year-old son were driving home to Saratoga County from Washington for Thanksgiving when they were informed of a bomb threat to their residence. She goes on to describe a pretty robust response. And we're also told that, this is Fox News Digital, that the director of the CIA nominee, John Ratcliffe, and Pete Hegseth, the DOD nominee, were among those targeted too. Keep in mind,
imagine that. Imagine you're there with your husband or wife and your kids, or maybe your grandkids. It's a holiday season, and you're going back and forth with gifts and going to grandma's house for turkey and coming back home for dessert. Whatever it is you're doing with your family, this time of year, you got to stop what you're doing because somebody phoned in a bomb threat to your house, to your residence. As Michael Corleone said, where my wife sleeps and my children play. A bomb threat. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're the toughest person out there. Even though you may think it's a prank. Even though you may think, you know what? I really need to make sure my family is okay. I'm going to put them in a hotel for an evening, and I'm going to have security go ahead and sweep this house and make sure everything's okay. Just that disruption. I could not imagine if Robin was coming home alone. If she went to an early thing at one of her relatives or whatever, friends, and was coming home, and on the way home, she understood we got a bomb threat. How would you feel? Now, Trump, this man has gone through hell and back. Obviously, he's been shot at. They went into Mar-a-Lago, and they went through Melania's underwear drawer. Did everything they possibly could. I'm sure Barron got disrupted, but they've been through it. He's the president. He understands all the security, and who knows how many threats he's received on his life in the last 5, 6, 7 years. I can't even imagine being him. But these new people, these are people who, Pete Hegseth was a private individual. He was just living his life. Elise Stefanik, she was actually in politics, or is in politics right now. You know, she may have certain security because being a sitting congresswoman. But how about some of these doctors? And how about, you know, the people who just want to do right by the country? And now they've been threatened. And I'm telling you, that day, tonight, last night, whenever it happened, it changed their lives. It changed their lives forever. Yeah, Pete Hegseth too. Pete Hegseth is an Army veteran. He's seen action. But this brought it to his front door with his wife. See, it's a big difference if you've been overseas or if you're a current congressperson. But some of these doctors and some of these people who are now coming on as advisors and part of the cabinet, RFK Jr., remember when he tried to get additional Secret Service protection and Biden and Kamala wouldn't give it to him? And I don't know right now, I don't know the inner workings. I don't know how you get security and what you have to do to go through to end up getting Secret Service. I don't think Trump can assign Secret Service as of yet. I'm not sure. But I'm sure he can pay for it. And I'm sure Elon can make sure, you know, let's go ahead and make sure everyone's secure. I bet you he travels with an entourage. You saw the guys that got off the plane with Trump, full riot gear, SWAT gear, military gear these guys had. But ordinary citizens who are now looking at working with Trump, doing nothing but trying to make America better, great, now have to deal with this. And it's all the left's fault. It is the media's fault. They have produced this stuff. They've been doing it for, you know, you're Hitlerian, you're Mussolini, you're fascist, you guys are garbage. While Biden can change and invite Trump to the White House because he knows it was fake, while Kamala can pretend, you now know it's fake because you saw her speak yesterday, these nuts that they've indoctrinated don't know the difference. To them, it's true. Some of the stuff I've seen on Twitter or /X for the last 24 hours is just, I can't even believe. These people are having what's called screaming sessions. They're going out into the middle of the woods and screaming as loud as they can. You've seen them shaving their heads. They're absolutely toast. These are the type of people that you have to wonder, sitting back going, man, we got to do something about this guy. It's crazy.
These are all private citizens right now who are up for big jobs in the future. And once somebody takes over the Defense Department, say, they would have Pentagon police. Once somebody takes over the CIA, they would have CIA police. But right now, they are private citizens living in their homes preparing for confirmation hearings. So they don't have security details per se to deal with something like a swatting incident where the police show up because of an erroneous, with guns drawn potentially because of an erroneous tip that there is some kind of violent action happening. So we will bring you more names as we have them, as well as the White House response as we have it. President Biden is vacationing in Nantucket at the moment. We don't know if he has been briefed yet.
And even if he has been briefed, does it really matter? Is Biden really going to do anything to protect these people? No. Hell no. Not going to do it. All these people are now at risk solely because they've been nominated for a job in the Trump administration. That's sad. That's absolutely sad. Democrats have made a total mess of our country. Yeah, they have. Now I rely on Jesus. Yep, you have to. That's leftist for you. You didn't see any of this happen with the right? No. That's why they tried to manufacture everything about January 6th, which tonight on Rumble, I have another interview that I'm going to be dropping with a very prominent, let's say, someone who was involved with January 6th from the inside. Biden is sleeping in Nantucket. You know who else isn't that where Obama lives? Did he go up and stay with Obama? I don't know. FBI is treating, it's Harris's fault because her video and Tom Walsh. This is a good one, Michael. The closer we get to Inauguration Day, the worse it's going to get. The worse it's going to. You're absolutely true. I've wondered this myself. I'm not in law enforcement. But these people probably use some sort of software or device that bounces a signal all over the place. So even if they did trace the call, they can make it look like it came from Afghanistan, and then it went to Iran, and then it went to Chicago. I mean, they probably got, and I'm only speaking because I see stuff on TV. I have no friggin' idea. But I would think if they could trace the calls, they would. So the fact that they aren't means they probably can't. The light is rather bright on your face today. Let me see. You want me to have less light? Yeah, people tell me I'm too dark sometimes. And then somebody says, okay, is that better? See, now I feel like I can't see it. Turn that down a little bit. All right. Or I can move the light like this, so it's not so much directly on my face. Better? How's that? Better? Somebody said the light is bright on your face. There we go. Would you like to see Barry unleashed with great interviews? Oh, that's the other thing. Okay. Barry, have you read the Hexeth police report fully? No, would love to. Sean, is there more information in it? I'd love to. Are you talking about the, how can I say this? Can't say the word here. The interaction, the interlude with that woman? Yes. I covered it and did a video on that. Leilauchi says, yes, better, not so bright. Okay. I think my New York City liberal brother could be involved in that. Ooh, don't say that, man. You get him in trouble. Trump should explain how... It's like you just read my script. Trump should explain how tariff works. People are being brainwashed. Yes. Yes, they are. Perfect comment for the segue. You guys can actually script out my shows. You can actually just one at a time figure out where I'm going. So this JZV is talking about tariffs. And I love your comment because it's so timely. That is next up on my list. I wanted to get out all the information about the swatting. Boom. Now into the next section. I love when I watch the news. And I think you must see it a certain way as well. Because when you watch the news, you're getting things from two different sides, and they don't seem to jive whatsoever. A fire is a fire. It's a fire. There's no doubt. It's a fire. Water is water. Air is air. There's no debate. But what happens in the news business is that these people take sides. And there's really no sides with something as simple as a tariff. It is what it is. It is a tax levied against another country because of negotiation or because of trade imbalance. That's what it is, period. And the other side of the coin, people who understand business understand it a certain way. People who are ideologues, i.e. the media, they don't have any clue. And one of the things that's being exposed, in my opinion, as I watch the media respond to these tariffs, they have no clue about business. It's all about their feelings, all up in their feels. They're so worried about the other countries. They're so worried about the price of guacamole. My life does not turn or one way or the other based on the price of guacamole. But for some reason, these elites in Washington and New York and LA, that's all they want to talk about, because I guess their audience is that stupid. We're going to cover this right now.
Chuck, how do you see this? Because, again, Trump and, Ashley was talking about unpredictability is something that maybe foreign leaders can expect to be predictable.
Well, look, what the tariff regime allows him to do is it makes him the central force and the central negotiating person on pretty much everything. I mean, not to go all George Will on you, but, this has been a century-long effort by Congress to essentially hand power over to the executive branch. This is one of the many powers that that Congress has handed to the presidency on these tariff regimes. And so it is to sort of follow up on what Ashley was.
What you notice right off the bat, listening to something like Todd, Chuck Todd, is why did you go? The host of of this show went to speak to a host of another show. And I think that's what you start seeing throughout liberal media. They don't talk to experts. They don't talk to people actually in business, running business. They talk to other ideologically driven hosts. And they posture this host as if they have some clue about how business is supposed to run. If you want Chuck Todd to be an expert on business, perhaps you should say, it's Chuck Todd. He's a host here on MSNBC, but he also owns this, and this, and this, and he runs these businesses. If you don't predicate that, if you don't say, hey, listen, I'm going to qualify what he has to say by saying this man has some idea about business other than being on television, then nothing he has to say should matter. Chuck, tell me you've actually done something. You've ordered some product. You've purchased product. You run a grocery store. Tell me something other than the fact that you're an MSNBC host.
The feature is forcing a negotiation. The feature isn't the tariff itself, right? That's what Trump loves so much about this, is that it brings people to the table. In many ways, it brings people asking for favors for him. He slaps a tariff on, and an importer might say, hey, well, not on these goods. What can I do for you, Mr. President, that would take this off the tariff list? And you can see suddenly it's a favor here and a favor there. This is why it's potentially a very corruptible part of government if we're not careful here and if it's not abused. And I think that is certainly a concern when you talk to the more libertarian-minded economics folks, including the folks at the Cato Institute. This is another reason why tariffs potentially are so damaging to the country, because it's...
You're not telling me anything. You're telling me potentially dangerous to the country. How? Specifically, tell us how it's potentially dangerous. They can't, because they don't know what they're talking about, and they're posturing to people as if they do.
Easily corruptible. It becomes part of this back and forth deal making. And by the way, just to simplify this, we're talking about tariffs, but let me make this pretty simple. If this slaps on, it's a guacamole tax. We get most avocados in this country come from Mexico.
Your simplistic nature is to tell everybody it's a guacamole tax. So we've got, I don't know, fentanyl. I know we've got, besides fentanyl, we've got other things coming across the border. Newcomers. We've got them doing certain things in the country. And you're telling us the concern that you have is that guacamole is going to rise in pricing, or tomatoes, as if that should matter. Why should I care that guacamole is a buck more per bowl? How is that even something that we should consider if we have the opportunity to stop the influx of newcomers coming across the border? If we can do that to Mexico. I don't care what it costs to shut down the border. I don't care if it means, listen, you need to start eating, well, I don't know, these foods. Start eating food produced in America. Your entire argument against tariffs is ideological. In that whole minute and a half that he was talking, he didn't tell you anything as to why it could be problematic.
Enjoy guacamole. Be prepared to pay a higher tax for it if these tariffs go through.
May not be long for that political world. But obviously it sparked a conversation, which they do need to have. They don't have a lot of fentanyl that comes across the border, but there are some people that come across the border. I'll tell you what Mexico needs to do. They need to stop the people, and they need to stop the drugs. It's coming right over the southern border. They're a terrible neighbor. They have been a terrible neighbor. And Donald Trump needs to get...
They don't want to hear it. Look at her face. She's snickering already. You have Americans, and I'm sure Laken Riley's family would be quick to tell you. You have American families who have been, the word I can use here is disrupted. These people in Aurora, Colorado have been disrupted. And it's a joke to these people in these studios. Mexico, it's not funny. Why are you taking the side of Mexico over Americans? You see, this is why these news channels are toast. People are sick of it. People are sick of you making excuses for Mexico and or Canada or the newcomers. Instead of saying, yeah, you're right, we should shut this down. And if the cost to shut this down means you got to pay more at Rocco's Tacos for guacamole, then guess what? Either eat the tacos without the guacamole or shut up and pay more. That's it. Those are your choices. I will trade that so that there's no more Laken Rileys. I will trade that so little 12-year-old Jocelyn doesn't have any similar things happening to other young girls. But the reason why they posture the way they do is because they never even mention those things. You'll never hear people on CNN or MSNBC talk about Laken Riley. It's like it never happened. To them, we don't talk about that here. We talk about what's going to happen with my guacamole. Seriously.
Their attention, and I think he has done that. I agree with you. This is the beginning of a negotiation, but it's more than just the economy. It's national security, and it's this poison that is killing American people all over this country.
I 100% agree. Like the fentanyl epidemic is horrible. It's tragic. We need to do something about it.
And China's part of it as well, and they're part of it as well.
You know that there actually was bipartisan legislation intended to increase our fentanyl detection technology.
So she's talking about this crazy bipartisan, which they call 3 senators, and you know who those were, led by Lankford. They keep saying that over and over, bipartisan. 3 people. And in that bipartisan, which he should have just came back and asked her, but I can tell he's fed up with her, is it still would let in 4,000 people a day. Of course it didn't go through. But again, they take the title, they take the bullet point, they take the highlight and say, you know, Trump killed it, even though Trump wasn't in office. But Trump killed that bill. He didn't want the bipartisan immigration bill. Nobody wanted it. Didn't you see the score on November 5th? One of my things I've been talking a lot on X, and it still permeates right now, is everybody in leftist media talks as though it's November 4th. Everything she's saying doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. What? And Scott's going to tell her. Listen to how he tells her. I think it's in this cut. Let me see what he says to her here. You ready?
Technologies at the border, and Trump killed it. That was the bipartisan border bill that Trump basically unilaterally killed.
You keep fighting these old battles.
It's not an old battle. You're saying it's a very...
You're not over it.
No,
Donald Trump
you're
won,
saying it's a current issue.
And
I'm
he
saying we have a
wants
solution.
the border secured.
That's the solution to it.
But he wants the...
That's the solution to it.
It's not the only solution, because Mexico has to do something.
Can you talk a little bit?
She's ignorant. Scott tried to tell her. He won on November 5th. You're talking about November 4th. You're talking about November 3rd. You're still trying to debate it. He won on the fact that he said, I'm going to shut the border. I don't understand what your argument is at this point, lady. There is no argument. Trump campaigned for months, and he told everybody, when I get in, within one day, I'm going to shut down the border. And he won. The argument you're having about the partisan border wall and this and that, and here's this, doesn't matter what you think. That's why your ratings are in the toilet. You're still acting as though there's a campaign to win. You're acting as though there's something that you can do when there's nothing you can do. Trump is going to run this the way he wants to. A whole bunch of executive orders are coming down on January 20th. And no one wants to hear what you have to say because you're not looking forward. Scott just told her, why do you keep bringing this up? It must be very frustrating for him. I hope he's getting paid well, but it must be very frustrating for him to be the Republican on these panels and talking about certain things. And as he talks about these certain things, they keep talking as though there's some negotiation to be had with the Republicans. There's not. And they think that for some reason hey, you guys don't realize that Trump said that, he was going to lower prices. Wait till you see what happens with these tariffs. He also told us he was going to shut down the border. And I don't want to speak for all of you watching, but I'm pretty sure if someday in the future guacamole becomes more expensive, you probably just going to say, thank you. No, thank you. I'm not paying it. Whatever. I'm not going to get upset. You got anything else? You got some ketchup? I don't care. I'm not going to fret over the guacamole if that's the price I have to pay for a secure border. It's not my groceries. When I go to the grocery, and actually when Robin goes to the grocery store, she buys the stuff and she buys what she wants according to what she wants to pay. If she picks something up and it's too expensive, it goes back down on the counter. When I ask her for a certain drink and she comes home and says, hey, you know what? You wanted this, but I looked at it. This is the same one, different brand. But you know what? This one was 50 cents cheaper. Thank you. And then try it. Does it taste any different? No, pretty much tastes the same. Good. I'm sure many of you shop that way. There's only a few things I don't scrimp on. Very few. And you're going to laugh at me. Laughing at myself. One time she came in with Hunt's ketchup. I'm like, what is this? It's Heinz or nothing, baby. I can't scrimp on my ketchup. I gotta have the Heinz ketchup. Not Hunt's, not Del Monte. I need Heinz ketchup. That's it. I have very few I have to have brands. Besides that, and if for some reason Heinz went way more expensive, I'd find a way to like the Hunts. It would be fine. I wouldn't care. Now here's the next guy. Again, another media guy.
About the source of your overall pessimism about the economic environment that Donald Trump faces and his proposed solutions to it.
Yeah, look, if you believe that two of the biggest problems we face in this country are, one, still maintaining inflation at a low level and getting it back to all the way to its 2%, and secondly, what I call restoring the American dream, the fact that we've had so many workers left behind, the fact that the famous white middle class, working class people out in Ohio have seen their wages after inflation go down, and the huge pressures that people have on their costs. It is very hard to find anything in the Trump 2.0, shall we call it, program that would address that. He's talking about tariffs, which we just talked about, inflationary. He's talked about massive tax cuts on all kinds of different things from overtime pay to tips and so forth, massively increasing the deficit potentially, which puts...
Notice he put the word potentially. It means that I don't know. I have an idea. I have a feeling. My ideology is this. I don't know. Potentially. It drives me crazy when I hear these people.
Upward pressure on interest rates makes it harder for people to buy houses, and also creates more inflation when we spend more money. And so when you go through...
See, I love it when they go into the real estate side of things, because now I can talk about that. See, I'm not an expert on soda. I'm not an expert on hairbrushes. There's one sitting in front of me. But I know real estate. And when you say it makes it harder to buy a house, no, it doesn't. A tariff does not make it harder to buy a house. You know what makes it harder to buy a house? Supply and demand. If more people want to buy it, the price goes up. It's that simple. If people can't afford the interest rate on a mortgage, the market stalls. If interest rates are 8 and 9%, it means you can only buy a certain level of house. Doesn't matter. 8% is not going to get you the same amount of house as 3% will. So all of this stuff about tariffs in real estate, no, it does not have an effect. You know what has an effect on real estate and your ability to buy a house that even Trump doesn't talk about? I wish he would appoint somebody who wants to dig into this entire credit bureau BS. You know, there's 3 credit bureaus, Experian, TransUnion, and I forget the other one at this point, Equifax. And these 3 seemingly mysterious agencies, those are the ones who really determine your ability to buy anything. House, car. Because when you go in to apply, they go, let's check your credit report. Oh, I'm sorry, your score's too low. Really? but I've been doing the right thing. Sorry, the best we can do is give you like a 9% mortgage. Oh my God. But I've been good, I've been working. But the machine says your score is X, Y, and Z. Anybody looking into these bureaus? Who owns these bureaus? How are they able to determine what you and me or somebody else can buy? How are you attaching that score? You ever ask a credit bureau, hey man, how are you coming up with this credit score? Your FICO. What the hell's a FICO score? What's the formula? Let me know the formula, because if I know the formula, maybe I can orchestrate something on my end to make my score go up. Nope, can't tell you. So you're arbitrarily associating a score with people, not telling them how the score works, yet that score determines what they can do financially. And what I want to know is, why is no politician, none, not Trump, nobody, why has nobody said, this, when I am president or senator or whatever, governor, I'm going to look into credit scoring. Even the woman who wanted to be president, even the drunkard, never came out and said, I want everyone to be equal and everyone needs to start at the same position, and that's what it's all about. Well, you can't start at the same position no matter how much money you have if your credit score isn't the same as Fred's. And they'll keep it 7-10 years, but that's only 7-10 years if nobody buys a bad debt, and if they buy the bad debt, then they can extend it another 7 or 10 years. So you get someone who's trapped into an issue they may have had because somebody got sick, and then 10 years later, they're doing well, their job, their business, and then they look back and go, sorry, back in 1996, that's 30 years ago. Oh, you can probably go ahead and fill out a form and have it removed from your credit report, and they'll get back to you in like 3 or 4 months. That's why I have no respect for people in the media, and that's why I don't have a lot of respect for a lot of politicians, because they talk out of both sides of their asses. I think Trump needs to look at credit bureaus and put that on something that you need to tear down as well. I think there are a lot of good people who got in bad situations because of the jabademic, who right now could be made whole if that stuff was wiped. I speak from experience. I buy and used to buy a lot of foreclosures. And I would talk to the people and I would say, what happened? And they would say such and such and such and such. And lately, a lot of people say we got behind, we lost our business. When they locked things down, we couldn't do this. And I'm thinking, so why don't you just, refinance? Nope, they won't let us. Our credit is screwed. But that was because of the jabademic. But you're healthy now and you can show income. Yeah, but we don't have 24 months of income and blah, 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 blah. What do you think's going to happen to these people up in North Carolina? Just think about that for a little bit. These people were denied real help from our government, and now some of them are going to want to rebuild. Some of the people who maybe own the land say, you know what, all right, let's go ahead and get me a building mortgage, something I can build a house with. I'm going to need $300,000 or $400,000 so I can build a new house. Oh, sorry, your credit looks like while you're recovering from this storm, you had missed a couple payments. We can't give you that mortgage. Wait for that. Also, each credit bureau will have a different score. That's good point. Each credit company will have a different score. So even if your score looks good on here, oh, I'm sorry, we don't use them. We use this one. You're absolutely right. I forgot about that. Pay everyone 100%, but should have 5 credit cards. I don't think so. No. Government set these people up to fail. I believe that. I have $37 trillion in debt and my credit score is 850. Oh, God. Anyone heard about some of the Trump cabinet picks having bomb threats? I've only seen on one channel. It looks like you responded. Your comment was 34 seconds ago. Do the rewind. Go ahead and rewind. You're about 51 minutes behind. Go ahead and rewind to about the 4th minute. We went through that in depth. So let's continue with these clowns. And I didn't mean to digress, but I've always felt that credit scores were just another problem that people, the government, I don't even know who owns them. They're not government agencies, but they seem to act like government.
And of course, deporting all the illegal immigrants, many of these people who are very engaged productively in the country and who we still need, we still have more jobs than we have people looking for jobs. All of these things are actually negatives for the economy. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, but I just don't see how his policies line up with what we need to do to address the problems we're facing.
You know, Molly, ProPublica is reporting on one of the many ways that Donald Trump's team is considering a funding war.
So now you know how, if you've heard the term the wrap-up smear, the wrap-up smear Nancy Pelosi talked about is somebody will publish something, and then once they publish it, other people can now report on it and say, well, you know, they reported it in the Wall Street Journal, but if the original publication was crap, then you're reporting crap. But that's a technique that they use. So she just said, ProPublica said this.
This time on the federal budget, this is what they say, quote, Trump and his advisors are asserting that a president can unilaterally ignore Congress's spending decisions and impound funds if he opposes them or deems them wasteful. Now, to me, this sounds like Doge, okay? This sounds like a little, it's concerning. It also sounds like Congress is losing some of their footing here. How worried are you about this, and do you think we expect to see any hemming and hawing from members of the legislative branch on this one?
Why are you asking her? Why are you asking the woman on the right, who's obviously somewhat of a communist, what she thinks about how Congress and the executive branch should interact with funding?
Well, this is from Project 2025, right? And this.
That's why she wanted to bring Project 2025 into the mix. Oh, of course she does.
Talks, you know, you'll notice that, you know, who is heading, Trump wants to head the OMB, the Office of Management and Budget, Ross Vogt. And Ross Vogt is one of the authors of Project 2025. He likely will sail through Senate confirmation because he's been in this department before, and compared to a lot of the other cabinet members, he has a much more genteel profile. But his ultimate, you know, he's written a lot about this, and he's talked about it, you know, not funding the federal government, taking away the power of the purse from Congress and giving the president that power. And I think that, you know, is part of Doge. But, you know,
you heard anything illegal yet? Not me. I don't see why you have a problem. You just don't want Trump to have that kind of power. You don't want the OMB under his control to have that kind of power. I see you.
Again, with these people from, you know, these Project 2025 people like Ross, this guy is pretty smart, and he's very ideological, right? He's been writing about this for a long time. You know, I read a quote he had today about how, you know, the only way to honor the Constitution is to sort of work around it. I mean, you know, this is a real ideological thing that's really explained in Project 2025 and talks about, you know, this fundamentally is about dismantling the administration.
What's Project 2025? I don't know. Like I said, they are still acting as though this is November 4th. It's like the election didn't take place, talking about another thing that they had all involved in the election, Project 2025. They have not shifted into you lost. You're still talking about stuff from before. And I think the big reason is we saw last night, they have no leadership. They have nobody running this ship at this point. And so they're just out there foundering, trying to find something that matters to their audience. And none of this stuff matters.
Administrative state. And this is, you know, quite worrying. If it works, it will really strip a lot of power from Congress. And it will also reshape the way the federal government spends money.
Good. I'm down with that. After what we've seen, which they never talk about on MSNBC and CNN, they never talk about how Congress spends money. We've seen, and I've shown you on this show many times, all the different expenditures that Congress has approved, including showing wild pigs how to play video games. Yes, that was a real thing that they put money in. Showing a pig how to play a video game. Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Again, we can always go back to the $2 trillion that they just can't find. Or yesterday, them wanting to basically send another couple billion over to that country that's trying to fight Vlad. It's amazing. Difference on Rumble is I could actually have said the guy's name and a country. But this one may have been, what I saw yesterday, this may have been the biggest kick in the teeth I've seen in a while. And I thought to myself, we're being punked. We are absolutely being punked. Breaking. The IRS has just asked for a $20 billion budget increase for the incoming Trump administration. You may not even have jobs, and you have the audacity to submit to Trump, not only are we going to, stay here, but we need $20 billion more. Our budget needs to increase by $20 billion. What kind of cojones, what kind of insanity must you be under to think that Trump is going to give the IRS another $20 billion increase in budget? I read this and I'm like, candid camera? Is this punked? I don't get it. How did that even come out of anybody's mouth to think that Trump would give you an extra $20 billion? And meanwhile, Elon clapped back really quick. Elon says, the IRS will be audited by Doge. Ooh, think how that's going to go. Think how the IRS being audited. I mean, if you ever wanted to look up irony in the book, the definition should now just say that. The IRS will now be audited. The fact that for decades, these people have run roughshod over the American people, done whatever they've wanted, taken whatever they've wanted, carte blanche, do whatever they want to anybody. Now they want $20 billion more. And the response from Elon Musk, who's not even an elected official, said, not only are you not getting the money, we're going to audit you. That's what I want to see from a government. I want to see a government that basically stands up and says, no, we're not going to take this anymore. And then I want to hear, because this question always goes all the way back to the woman or man who asked, what about tariffs? Now listen to the difference, the complete difference in terms of what does a tariff do? How is tariff going to be beneficial? You heard ideology. Now hear business.
Also wanted to get your take on this because President Trump on Monday night announced new possible tariffs for Mexico and Canada and China. What's your take on that? Just give you one thing. This is the Trump campaign response to inflation. People worried about inflation and tariffs. That in his first term, President Trump instituted tariffs against China that created jobs, spurred investment, and resulted in no inflation. What say you about the tariffs?
Well, he's right. I mean, all you have to do is look at the numbers. He uses these trade numbers of threats of tariffs and everything as a way to get people to the table. Already, by the way, Canada and Mexico were included. Already, Trudeau from Canada has called up the president saying, we had a great talk, et cetera. This is an opening gambit. He did it the first term. We saw what happened. We've had 4 years of just talking, no action from the Biden administration. What has that produced? The biggest increase in immigration in American history, terrible problems with fentanyl from China, et cetera. We had one term of Trump already. We know what that produced. Action. It produced getting a clear trade, clear deal on migration with Mexico. Remain in Mexico worked. It cut migration down incredibly. We had a deal with China. It got them to buy more produce from the United States eventually and got a lot of tariff money. So we've been there before. We've done this, and Americans decided they would go with the trade-off of the fear of a little higher prices on Mexican tomatoes for the sake of getting rid of our terrible migrant crisis, which is causing Americans.
He's so right. The difference between listening to somebody who's business-oriented talking about tariffs and talks to you about how does this affect your pocketbook, how your pocketbook, and the overall ideology of the Trump administration. Yes, your tomatoes may be more expensive if you buy tomatoes from Mexico. Yes, your avocados and guacamole may be more expensive if you're buying Mexican avocados. However, what's the price of what we've gone through for the last 4 years of all these newcomers being in this country? And before you start adding up the billions and billions that they have spent on housing them, feeding them, EBT cars, before you get there, just go to the Lincoln Rileys of the world, the Jocelyn's of the world. What's the cost on that? You see, to me, it's insulting that MSNBC and CNN and some of these ideological nuts will talk about guacamole being too expensive. Because you can't go to the Mexican restaurant, you can probably find another restaurant to go that doesn't have to eat guacamole. The 20 or 30 or even $1 more that you'd have to pay guacamole, when you put that in comparison to somebody's life, never mind all the other stuff. Never mind the drugs. Never mind all the different crimes and people taking over apartment complexes. How much would you pay more in guacamole for Lincoln Riley and all the other women to still be alive? Because that's what they're measuring it against, and it's insulting. I don't even think they understand how insulting it is. You are saying you're going to be inconvenienced because nobody else in this country, not the Senate, not the House, not Kamala, not Biden, nobody, not Mayorkas, nobody tried to stop what was happening at the border for years. And now you have the audacity to look people in the eye and say, Trump lied, man, your guacamole's going to go up. That's some embarrassing. It's forget embarrassing. That's an insult. People died. And you're talking about freaking guacamole.
U.S. citizens to die, to spend billions more than they ever did, and to get addicted to fentanyl. So that's the deal that they made, and we're going to live with it.
On American businesses, I want to bring in David McNeil. He's founder and CEO of WeatherTech, an American-made company with product.
Now, before he talks, I always like to give full disclosure. My wife and I have WeatherTech products in our cars. They're fantastic. Not a sponsor, just fantastic stuff. And again, now you're talking to someone who's in business. Not another host on MSNBC, somebody in business. And I'm going to show you how bad these hosts don't know anything about business. When he says it, you'll know. Hold on.
That can weatherproof everything from your car to your home. You might have WeatherTech in your car right now or your home. David, thanks so much for joining Top Story tonight.
I'm happy to be here.
David, a lot's being reported about tariffs and American businesses and how it's going to affect American consumers, and we'll get into that. But you've been in business for a very long time, right? And let me know if I get any part of this story wrong. When you started your business, you were importing from England, but then you decided that you could actually manufacture in America. So talk to me about what's missing from some of maybe the reporting and the arguments about these potential upcoming tariffs.
Since you asked him to correct you, he's going to correct you. Because you don't even know the difference between imports and exports.
Well, the tariffs are not a bad thing because it levels the playing field between America and other countries like China that don't have the same standards for their workers, their same rules and regulations like the EPA, OSHA, labor laws. We provide great benefits for our employees. We make an ultra quality product right here in America. And they typically don't, and they're able to undercut us. In fact, some of our technology and intellectual property gets stolen by China, and it's used against us.
But there's a yin and yang to this, right? There's a yin and yang to everything. So you make your products here in America, but you also import to, I think, more than 80 countries from what I read.
That's embarrassing. You just asked a man who has an American company, and you obviously have a certain ideology, and you wanted to say that this man imports from all these other countries. He's about to tell you the truth.
So could these tariffs hurt you if there's a trade war?
I export to over 80 countries.
Export. I'm sorry, export. Yeah, export.
Right. I mean, certainly if the other countries retaliate, yes. But most of our business is here with Americans, and we're proud to be an American manufacturer utilizing the great American worker and American technology.
Yeah, a lot of the reporting we've seen on the proposed Trump tariffs is that they will cause higher costs for Americans. And some estimate maybe it places it at $1,000 per family in extra costs per year. Do you think this is going to hurt the U.S. economy if this goes through?
Actually, I think that a rising tide raises all ships. Furthermore, the economies of scale, as we utilize our manufacturing equipment more, will actually lower our cost of manufacturing and will actually be able to lower our cost to the consumer. So we're going to
He didn't expect that. Why didn't he expect it, you may say? Because he doesn't know business. This guy's talking like up here. He's talking at a whole different level. And this guy who's the reporter, I think this is not MS, just NBC, doesn't know what he's talking about. They put these people in these situations to interview these people, and they don't know business. And so when they're talking to someone who's been in business, who understands import versus export, who understands my product cost, margins, all the right terms, they're absolutely lost. They don't understand how the tariffs. No, it's actually a good thing.
Raising foreign prices with the tariffs, and actually, I believe WeatherTech will actually be able to slightly lower our prices to help bridge that gap and help the consumer.
You know, I want to read you something from the Wall Street Journal covering the potential tariffs from President-elect Trump. Here's what they wrote. Tariffs can create winners and losers. Domestic industries that compete with lower costs, foreign manufacturers can experience greater demand for their products while the government takes in additional revenues. But consumers and other purchasers of imported goods aren't able to buy as much. And both.
Read what he just read. Consumers and purchases of imported goods aren't able to buy as much, and both economic theory and the historical records show that they tend to lose more than the winners gain. He specifically, and it's written there, consumers of imported goods end up not being able to buy as much. Let me repeat that. Consumers of imported goods are not able to buy as much. There's an easy remedy for that. A real easy remedy that for some reason these ideological nuts on the left don't want to know. It's really simple. It's not even a hard diet. It's a real easy diet. Buy American. There you go. It's that simple. That's all you got to do. His own words.
Economic.
Consumers of imported goods. Put a big red circle around that when people are talking about tariffs. That's what the media doesn't talk about. And they should say consumers of imported goods from tariffed countries. So if the tariffs are from Mexico, Canada, and China, there's a big-ass world out there. If the t-shirt you want to buy from China is a little bit too expensive, or if the avocados that you want to buy from Mexico are too expensive, guess what? We have avocados here in Florida. There's avocados in California. There's avocados in Puerto Rico. There's probably other areas that have avocados. It's only because you're too stubborn to change your diet. And I mean diet, your shopping habits. But they don't say that. They just make it sound like, oh my God, it's going to be awful. They're going to tariff us. We're going to tariff them. It's just going to keep going. It ain't going to bother me at all. And it shouldn't bother you. You should just shrug it. Okay, he's going to shut the border and some stuff from Mexico is going to cost more. That's it. Fine. Fine. I don't care. I don't care if stuff from China costs more. I understand I bought my cell phone and parts of it were probably from North Korea or China. I don't care. Shut it down. Show us the other products. And notice they haven't said that. I haven't seen an interview yet from an American company, other than here, WeatherTech. Hey, listen, you're a produce company. You're from California. You're from Florida. Are you seeing a dent? Do you expect that your sales are going to go down or your prices are going to go up because of what's happening in Mexico? And the answer to that would be, well, the prices may go up. Ooh, because people keep buying. That's the whole idea. It's called supply and demand. If people don't buy the Florida avocados, then the prices aren't going to go up. If you can't buy it here, but you can buy it there, then buy it there. And he's got his own data. He's looking at it. Consumers of imported goods aren't able to buy as much. You just answered your own question. You don't even need the interview. But they won't talk to people that way. They won't tell them what's really going on.
And the historical records show that they tend to lose more than the winners gain. Moreover, when a country imposes tariffs against another country, the other country often responds with tariffs of its own. So I guess, David, my question to you is, we've been trying to battle inflation, right? The Biden administration told us it was transitory. It clearly was not. It's here. It's still very stubborn. Could the tariffs make inflation even worse? Because a lot of voters voted in President-elect Trump because they thought the price of everything was just too much.
See, they think it was a single issue. I've seen this on newscast after newscast after newscast. They forget the rest of his platform. They don't even talk about, people voted in Trump because, the prices were too high. That was just one. Prices was one. Number two, we needed to stop what's happening at the border. People lost their lives. People no longer can live in certain communities. Their landlords aren't there. Somebody else is taking over. Women and children, things are happening to them. So don't tell me that you having to pay more for flipping guacamole is more important.
Look, we need to support American industry. American workers, American families rely on it. We have Thanksgiving coming up, and somebody's got to have a job to put those turkeys on the table. And without American jobs, without a WeatherTech supporting the American worker, and the American Manufacturing Association said for every manufacturing job in America, there's 5 support jobs. This is a big deal when a factory goes overseas. We need our jobs here right now, and I'm not particularly personally worried about the tariffs hurting anything. In fact, it'll help our economy.
David, I do want to ask you something. I can remember growing up in the 80s, and I remember the Made in America sort of campaigns, and people would show you products in their house. I can remember this, that were made in America, and they were proud of that. And then we fast forward to now, where people have the entire sort of world mall in their phone with places like Amazon, and they just shop for the cheapest prices. Do you think something like tariffs can sort of break that habit where people sort of shop for the cheapest price instead of thinking about, okay, where was this made? Let me see if I can support local businesses. Let me see if I can support companies here in the U.S.
Before he answers that, I'll answer your question for you. If you go to Amazon and you can see the plethora of products, and this one costs X, and this one costs Y, yeah, you can pick the cheaper one if you want it. And the other thing is, guess what? You could probably still buy from Mexico. No one's telling you can't buy. No one's telling you can't buy from China. It all depends on your tolerance. If you want that particular item, and that item right there is 20 or 30% higher, and you can afford it, guess what? You'll buy it. No one is saying that you can't have the product. The whole entirety of the tariff model and their objection to it is they don't understand there are options. When you go to the store, you go down a cookie aisle, there's 1,000 cookies. Every single brand. You don't even know where they're from. Same thing with soda and chips. Everybody has a chip. As you're going and you got your cart and you're going down, okay. Oh, there's a twofer. There's a twofer sale right here. I'm going to grab. The people will buy, if they're shopping according to price, they will buy according to what's they can afford. They're making this out to be more than it is. It is simply a tool to get them to close the flipping border. Period. So the question I would ask if I was any of these people on TV, don't talk to me about pricing of a guacamole. The conversation is, what is it worth to you as an American? What would you pay to have all of this stuff stop? What are you willing to chip in? Remember, fair share. Your fair share. You got to pay your fair share. What's the fair share you would be willing to accept and tolerate to get the border closed and get these people the hell out of here? Because there's the answer to these questions. All you people on television, it's a very simple question. What would you pay? Give them a little bit of background information. Here we have spent $100 billion or whatever it is to make sure these people were taken care of, and here's how many deaths, and here, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I get it. What would you pay to make all of this go away? That's the question. What's your tolerance? If all of this, or even half of this, or a quarter of this could go away and not be as it is now, if our country wasn't going to spend $100 billion on newcomers, what would you be willing to pay to make that happen? And I guarantee you, most of the country, including liberals, would say, yeah, I'd pay 50 cents more for guacamole. I would have to believe that. I think humanity is smart enough to go, yeah, that's a no-brainer.
Well, let me say one thing. One of the most important things we can do is help the American consumer understand where the products they're purchasing are made. So President Trump needs to enact a law immediately requiring all websites to disclose the country of origin, where that product is made, so the consumer can make a better decision on what they're buying and where it's coming from.
All right, David McNeil, look into your crystal ball. If these tariffs are enacted, where's the American economy in 2 years?
I think it's going to grow significantly under President Trump.
Well, let's talk about that.
Not the answer he wanted. You see, it's different talking to a business person than it is another host. A business person, a guy who has to make sure that the numbers add up for his company, is telling you, yeah, I can't wait. I'm optimistic. Things are going to be fine. You don't hear that from the ideologues who sit in their studios and go, but you know what? We could have had a bipartisan. No, I don't care. I'm over. We're seeing the future, and the future is extremely bright.
Mandate. You see the country right now. People are so excited right now. You got people coming out of the woodworks. You didn't even know they were Trump supporters. And now I'm seeing MAGA hats in New York City. But there's this overall optimism that we're back. We're going to fight. There's deals being done on the world stage. Are you feeling that in the financial community as well?
Not only in large cap companies with CEOs that have to hedge their bets and say they're playing both sides, but 62% of this economy is small businesses in America, 5 to 500, family businesses. They're loving what they see. Less regulation, stabilized taxes, the ability to, now that this uncertainty is over with, make their decisions. I just flew in from West Virginia. We just cracked ground on a $35 million new plant that we were hedging on, waiting to see what would happen. Now that we know the regulatory environment is going to be stripped away federally, we're putting money in the ground. We're going to create 100 jobs there. This is what I love. This is what I love about stability. Pro-business is always better because it lets you pursue what matters in America. The number one export we have is the American dream. We've got to support the American dream. That's the whole idea. And the American dream is when businesses can create jobs and families flourish.
Couldn't have said it any better myself. By promoting America, that's the biggest reason for the tariffs. I saw this comment, and I think he was joking, but let me just see. Mark says, Bear, I need to explain to you how tariffs work. I'm hearing so many people being wrong on the tariff concept. Really? For the last hour and a half, we've been talking about tariffs. I'm pretty sure I know how a tariff works. It's not complicated. People try to make it seem like it's complicated, but it's really not. If you ship something into this country and a tariff is associated with it, it basically becomes a tax on your country. Hey, listen, I want to sell these avocados. Okay, well, if we're going to put a 25% tariff on your product, it's going to cost you that much more when you bring it into America. There's no right or wrong. That's it. That's the definition. And the cost of that avocado is going to be borne by the person who chooses to purchase that avocado. The idea behind the tariff is to make it so that your country sees less sales because the people resist paying that amount for the product. That's how the tariff works. It's not like all of a sudden Mexico is going to have to pay America. They're paying it on the back end. If your product has a 25% cost to it, then more people over here aren't going to buy it, so there your country is hurt because you're making less revenue on your side. And so by putting the tariff, which is in this case a negotiation and a preventative item or technique, he's saying, if you don't stop the border, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it unless you don't shut things down. If you shut things down, we're good. It's basically a threat. We're going to make everything coming in from Mexico, everything, 20% higher in cost. That's the truth. That's what a tariff is. And then she said, well, then we'll tariff stuff that you guys are sending over here. And you can just keep escalating and basically call each other's bluff and to see who's going to be the bigger dog. But since 85% of your country's revenue comes from the United States, you're the one who's going to be hurt. You see, you have to have the entire picture. I remember one of them was 85% and the other one was 77%. I think Canada was 77%. If 85% of your revenue comes from American purchases, how are you going to survive if, we end up cutting that down to 60? That's what the tariffs do. Yeah, it's conditional. An hour and a half about it was because people wanted to talk about it. But no, it wasn't just about tariffs and avocado. It's about business. It's about money. And it's about understanding what exactly is happening because it's become a big issue in America. That's why I talked about it for this long, is because so many people don't know. But since you're still here, I will thank you for staying with us this long. You want your voice heard? Why haven't you hit the like button? Okay, let's go here. They must perform certain acts for us to avoid the tariffs. Yeah, just shut it down. See, that's what it's about. And the other gentleman said an hour and a half talking about tariffs. No, it's an hour and a half talking about the border. That is what all of this is about. It's conditional. There should be no argument. The president of Mexico should have just said, you're right, okay, we'll shut it down. The story ends. Don't let any more people in. Tell them to turn around, go the other way, and we're done. We are going to shut it down one way or the other. And Trump, I think, was magnanimous. I think he was fantastic. I think he gave people the opportunity with 55 days or whatever it is before he gets in the office and go, it's coming. It's coming on January 20th. You might want to head this off now. That's what this is all about. And so I can't make light of the fact that we're talking about immigration. And it's not even, I hate even using the term immigration. It's newcomers. It's fentanyl. It's all the stuff that we need to stop, and that's what it's all about. It is. And let's see here. Shut it down on both sides. Yeah, I don't care if they put a wall 50 feet high. Shut it down. Get these people out of here. These people are just stupid. I wish you or several would bring up these horrible credit report bureaus and do something. Yeah, a lot of people have been burned by that. The Mexican president spoke to Trump, and she said she's shutting it down. I mean, she's smart. You can say the other stuff. Well, I can just tariff you too. And Trump probably just said, go ahead. I don't care. My objective is to shut the border. Period. That's the objective behind this. It's not to penalize America. It's not to penalize Mexico. But if we have to penalize you, we will do it. You have an easy solution. An easy solution. There's no debate at this point. Just close the gates. Keep them out of here, and you won't have any problem with us whatsoever. As a prudent business person, I think she'd have to say, okay, except we don't know who put her in office. We don't know, as some people have said, possibly she's a puppet for the cartels. See, the cartels are the ones who are going to be like, oh, wait a second, you can't do this. Just think how much they've made with newcomers of all ages and all sexes, and the fentanyl. Billions of dollars because of this open border. And people here on our side have also profited from that. And if you are a hog farmer, I can't read, that's too small. If you're a hog farmer and you slop feed, you have to get a cooker and build it. You have to recook food that hogs eat to kill bacteria. And as always, Barry, you are correct. Shut it down. It's very simple. Somebody says, Barry, why do you have a hairbrush in front of you? I was running late. As I told you, sometimes it's frantic to get things turned on, and today I was doing the thing with Rumble, and I had to do it, and I was brushing my hair, and I'm clicking buttons, and then I had to just drop it so I could do the show. It's crazy. You don't think some of these people in these studios have hairbrushes and stuff underneath it and doing things? Oh, yeah, they do. They do. I've been there. How many people were killed getting her into office? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So let me go ahead and let me put this up first, because you guys, our X community has been amazing. I'd like you guys to join us over there. Where is it? Where's my picture here? Okay. We now have 11,000 plus patriots in our free fanfareshop.org group. If you put that URL in, it'll take you right to the private group on X. It's growing by the day. I mean, it's only been alive for a little over a month and a half, and 11,000 people there. So I thank you all who have joined, and most people who have joined have enjoyed being there, which is awesome. Friday night, when I go live at the 7 p.m. show, I always give away hoodies when we do the night show. If you go to fanfareshop.org, again, it's free. Just go ahead and put your email in. And on the nighttime shows, I go ahead and I give away hoodies, which are pretty good. I got some pictures I'm going to show so you guys can see that on Friday of some of the people who've got their hoodies. And that's where I want to be right now. Let me go ahead and begin reading some super chats if there's anybody in here. This is from Viking King. First off, thank you so much for all you do, Barry, and happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to you. So if Buy American costs me a wee bit more, but ultimately creates more work, and it's a gain for America. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Sandra J.G. Thompson. Tariffs are bad. Folks have discernment. Say Trump will take away my ability to have baby removal. Somehow they'll tie it into it. Doesn't make any sense, but you're right. Charlene Bates, thank you very much. GD Biddy, farms paid not to farm. That's just absolutely crazy. Crazy. Dana Wright, I remember in the 70s a sense of patriotism and pride. I was only a kid, and everyone said, Buy America, what happened? the entire country got turned over to where we can't even compete with stuff. You know, they pushed in the minimum wage has got to the point where it got too high, and businesses decided to rather import or go overseas and make products. All kinds of different things happened, and it just became incredibly bad for America. And I, just like everyone probably, we've contributed to it as well. If we want it, especially with electronics, you got a computer, monitors, microphone, lights, all kind, and I'm pretty sure most of this stuff wasn't made in America. So I've got a little introspection I've got to do as well. Roger Gardner says, got a new car last year for $26,000. The dealer wanted to charge me another $1,800 for windows tint, and said it was a package deal. I got the car for $26,000. Be careful. Yeah, they will try and gig you any way they possibly can. Hey, Miss Chris Bear, I hope your family has a beautiful Thanksgiving. Please know how much we all love and appreciate you guys. You are doing so much. Thank you very much, Miss Chris. Thank you. All you do as well. This is from CR. Happy Thanksgiving, Barry, to you and your family. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Harold Whited, thanks for all the information and insight. Much appreciated. Much appreciated that you tune in. Meet me, Lil. They want lithium under those homes. That's why the government isn't helping. It's horrible. Spending billions on newcomers, and you won't help the people in Western North Carolina. There's no forgiving them for what they've done. David R. Cummings, Barry gives a shout out to Jerry Lasso, my good friend. Jerry Lasso. Okay. Leanne Faulkner. Thank you for all you do for all of us. Thank you very much. Tim Allred. Cali produces its own avocados, which happen to be larger and better quality than the ones imported from Mexico, as we export ours. What gives? I just know if I go to the store down here, avocados in Florida, they're everywhere. I mean, like I said, there's a tree out back. I have an avocado tree out back. Ruth McCurdy, I won't need avocados for a long time because of 80 pounds of beans and rice. There you go. And you got to know if they're out there swatting Trump and doing crazy stuff and threatening people with bomb threats, it still can get a little squirrely here in the next 55 days. Danny Morse, thank you very much. Mama Mima, I pay for X and still couldn't comment. I will find that out. I'm sorry. We're working out the Rumble kinks. I definitely apologize. We'll get that fixed. JD, Democrats need to concede and encourage their followers to be respectful of the Trump overwhelming win. Yeah, we know that ain't going to happen. American Patriot Liberals IQ is the negative numbers. We are November 5th plus 22 days. The MSM is broke. I believe that. And alternative news is winning and winning big. Huge. In fact, I was listening to Dan Bongino this morning, and he was saying some things. It's almost too late for them to even start because they've burned all their credibility. Tanya Nguyen, hit the like button like this. Thank you. And Mama Mima again, Wonder interview. Oh, okay. So we're doing a bunch of interviews on Rumble. Like I said, if you haven't seen it, go look me up on Rumble. I just did one yesterday with John Amanchuku, a pastor, and the stuff he's doing inside the school districts. The man is really making things change. Really making change. So just love the interview, love talking to him, and I got one, like I said, hopefully I can edit it for tonight. Joy Kirkland, thank you very much, just wanted to say hi. FL, Barry, let's have another prayer meeting. I love seeing people find Jesus. He is my everything. Thanks, Darlene. Yes, next Thursday, after the holiday, we will indeed do that. Jason Price, happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. Barry, remember, we are winning, everyone. Yes, we are winning. And FL again, have a happy Thanksgiving. He is worthy of my thanks very much. I'm glad you put your name. I was wondering what your name was, and now I can address you as Darlene. And Mike H, thank you very much as well. So in closing, I just want, people always say, what are you thankful for? I'm thankful for my wife. I'm thankful for my daughter. I'm thankful for what YouTube has allowed me to do here. I'm thankful that President Trump won, that America has a chance to get itself together. And I'm very, 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 very thankful for all of you who have committed your time and money and attention for so many months now, even after the election. And I am touched by what you all have done, and it means the world to me and my wife and my daughter and friends. So the mods, great job. Thank you. I'm thankful for them. I think we have the best mods in the business because they're here, they're on X, they're on Rumble now. So much. They're in our private group. The people are awesome. Absolutely awesome. All right, so have a very, very, very happy Thanksgiving. Have a safe Thanksgiving if you're traveling. Please be very, very careful, and we'll see you on the other side on Friday. Thank you.